Not every MMA fight is a highlight reel knockout. Sometimes it's a soul-crushing stare-fest that makes fans want a refund. Today, we're looking at the worst MMA fights of all time. Fights so boring, awkward, or sloppy that they've gone down in history for all the wrong reasons. From heavyweights who refuse to throw punches, to strawweights shadowboxing air, these are the fights that tested not only the fighter's endurance, but the fans' patience.
Segment 1. Francis Ngannou vs Derrick Lewis.
Let's start with a fight that's basically the poster child for disappointment. Francis Ngannou versus Derrick Lewis. Going in, fans expected a clash of titans, two of the most terrifying knockout artists alive. People thought the octagon floor might literally collapse. Instead, we got a staring contest.
It was the worst heavyweight fight I've ever seen. It was the worst. It was the second lowest output fight ever.
Across 15 full minutes, the two combined for just 31 strikes. That's barely 2 punches a minute. I've seen toddlers in daycare throwing more hands over a toy truck. The crowd booed relentlessly. Joe Rogan sounded like he wanted to walk off commentary.
Look at these total strikes. This is crazy. 6 out of 25, 9 out of 37 in the third round. That is just insane. And again, Ngannou's not doing anything different. He's throwing a jab from way outside. He's throwing kicks from way outside. And when Derrick Lewis comes near him, he moves away.
And Ngannou, who was fresh off his loss to Stipe, admitted after the fight that he was gun-shy, basically paralyzed with hesitation. Lewis ended up winning by decision, but in reality, nobody won. Fans didn't win, the UFC didn't win, even the fighters didn't win. The only winners were the people smart enough to change the channel.
It was the worst heavyweight fight I've ever seen.
Segment 2. Israel Adesanya vs Yoel Romero.
On paper, this had everything. The undefeated, flashy striker versus the human tank, Yoel Romero. Fans thought we'd get fireworks. Instead, we got 25 minutes of waiting for Yoel to actually do something. Round 1, Yoel just stood there, hands high, not moving, looking like a statue. Adesanya didn't want to overcommit, so he stayed cautious too. What followed was the most awkward game of tag in the UFC. Leg kick, shuffle, reset. The crowd started booing by round 2 and never stopped.
Final 40 seconds.
Dana White left the arena furious.
What I was saying is I'm shocked that Romero knew this was his last opportunity at a world championship. I thought he was going to come out like a bat out of hell, put tons of pressure on him, shoot takedowns, go for, try to knock him out. He did literally none of that.
Adesanya won a decision, but he got booed out of the building.
It wasn't the best fight.
All right, this fight replay brought to you by Namajunas.
This was supposed to be a title fight, a main event, and instead, it felt like a bad sparring session at a local gym. If this fight had been a movie poster, the tagline would have been Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero, the battle of who can blink less.
Black outside, China inside. I am Chinese.
Segment 3. Rose Namajunas vs Carla Esparza 2.
Now let's talk about Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza 2. This wasn't just a bad fight. This might be the worst title fight in UFC history. Both fighters seemed paralyzed with fear. Rose circled endlessly, barely throwing strikes. Carla kept faking takedown attempts without committing. Across 5 rounds, they landed fewer punches than most prelim fighters throw in a single round. The commentary team was stunned into silence.
Like nothing's happening.
I don't know.
By the 5th round, even the judges looked like they were begging for mercy. Carla somehow won by split decision, reclaiming the title, but nobody celebrated. Rose defended herself after, saying, "I thought I did enough," and fans around the world collectively screamed, "Enough of what?"
What are the feelings like right now?
I won that fight. I stuck to the strategy.
The fight was so bad that Dana White openly trashed it in the post-fight press conference, saying,
Yeah, it was a weird fight. Seemed like they didn't want to engage. I think there was a total of 6 punches thrown in the first round. So that's a tough one. I started zoning out halfway through it, so I don't know.
Also, during the fight, Rose was screaming, "I'm the best," at the end of the fight like she didn't lose and put on the worst performance in championship history.
Is credited with that takedown.
Segment 4. Kimbo Slice vs Dada 5000.
Now we move on from boring to downright ugly. Kimbo Slice versus Dada 5000 in Bellator 149. This fight was hyped as a street fight come to life, 2 backyard legends throwing down. What fans got instead was 15 minutes of pure, unfiltered exhaustion. Both men gassed out after about 90 seconds. Every punch looked like it was moving through molasses. They were leaning on each other like drunk uncles at a barbecue. By the third round, Dada was so tired that he literally collapsed from exhaustion. Not a punch, not a submission, just his body saying, "Nope, I'm done." It was such a disaster that commentators struggled to even describe what was happening. And to make matters worse, Kimbo Slice later failed a drug test, and Dada was hospitalized in critical condition. This wasn't just a bad fight, it was dangerous, sloppy, and sad. Bellator wanted spectacle, but what they got was two guys fighting their own cardio and losing.
Honorable mention. Muhammad Mokaev vs Manel Kape.
Before we get to the end, let's give an honorable mention to Muhammad Mokaev vs Manel Kape. This wasn't as historically bad as others, but it was tense, awkward, and full of missed expectations. Mokaev stalled, Kape taunted, and neither delivered. After all the trash talk leading up to it, the fight felt like a deflated balloon. Not legendary bad like Ngannou vs Lewis, but definitely bad enough to make the fans groan.
Closing thoughts.
MMA has given us incredible wars, knockouts, submissions, but it's also given us fights so bad they're unforgettable for the wrong reasons. Whether it was Ngannou and Lewis refusing to throw, Rose and Carla circling into oblivion, or Kimbo and Dada fighting gravity more than each other, these fights are proof that sometimes the only thing being tougher than being in the cage is being a fan watching it. Which fight do you think is the worst of all time? Let me know in the comments, and pray we never see fights like these again.
It was the worst heavyweight fight I've ever seen. It was the worst.